I had such a great time as a student at Torah Day School, but for me the highlight was definitely participating in the middle school plays.
Our first play was The Wizard of Oz. Our second play was Mary Poppins.
Murray Dina made this program happen. Ruby Grossblatt directed, I directed. We had a wonderful time.
You can imagine how fun that would be to be together with Racheli as Bert in Mary Poppins and as the lion in The Wizard of Oz.
Right. I am a coward. I don't have any courage at all. I even scared myself.
That's who Racheli was back 24 years ago as a little girl. She could be the whole show, but she shared the stage with everybody, made everybody come out and do their best. She did it back then as a little girl, and today she's doing it on stage with all the wonderful girls here in Torah Day School and other schools also.
In 2010, after I had moved back to Atlanta, Mrs. May approached me with the idea of reviving the middle school drama program.
When Racheli and I were living in LA, she used to help out a bunch of Jewish schools with their drama programs. And for fun, we used to brainstorm different ideas for plays that these schools might be able to use. And one of the first ideas we had was for Simchas Torah.
Well, that could have gone better.
What am I going to tell my Abba and Ima?
How about, guess what? Sukkot is ruined.
The songs for Simchas Torah were based on songs from Oklahoma, written by Rodgers and Hammerstein. And we had so much fun spoofing the music from Oklahoma that we decided to really only use plays that were written by Jewish songwriters and composers from then on.
It's not just fun and exciting, it's also about responsibility. The first thing Racheli does when we start the season is she gives out a contract. The girls have to commit. Either I'm in this and then I'm there all the time, or I'm not. And this is a life lesson because nobody's going to cover for you in real life.
Before we do anything else, we focus on character development. We get into the psychology of the character and what makes each character tick.
I was looking for something.
Looking for what?
My character. What's his mojo? What's his MO? What's his motivation?
The program is a perfect studio for building socio-emotional skills. And it teaches empathy. They learn to relate and understand and feel someone else's feelings.
Being on the stage teaches children how to present themselves with poise and with self-confidence. We're raising the next generation of Jewish women, and it's important to be able to put your best foot forward and present yourself the way you'd like to be seen.
Racheli is an incredible director. You can tell that she really cares about the girls and what we take out of it. It's not just about, the script or, who you're on stage with. It's really about the experience that we're having and working as a team and being with everyone else on stage.
I know from my experience that she's willing to spend time with each girl, even out of school. I've gone to her house before to practice my lines, and I'm sure she did the same thing for other girls.
She brings in every connection she's ever made, whether it's a professional choreographer or the whole family affair, bringing in Meira for acting, Davida for singing.
It's such a beautiful thing for the girls to see how Racheli brings her entire family into our programs. The respect and admiration with which she treats her mother is such a lesson for them at this age. Just think about what a middle schooler is like with her mother.
This year's play was Erev Shabbos, which was to the music of Mary Poppins. And that was especially meaningful to me because that was one of the plays that I was in when I was in middle school here at Torah Day School. So it really was coming full circle. For this year's play, we brought in Tamima students, my former students, to work on choreography. And seeing them do that was so beautiful for me. They were able to take the skills that they learned and pass them on to the next generation of students. And I shept so much nachas watching them in action.
To come back and do the play was really a great experience for me because it showed me how much I had learned, and I felt like I could maybe make a small impact on other girls just like Racheli had done for me. And it was really interesting for me to come back and listen to the tips Racheli had to give to the girls and hear them with different ears because I wasn't on stage. But the tips she gives are always for life and not just on the stage.
Racheli and Yaakov's plays always have been some kind of a take on a Jewish holiday, whether it's Pesach, Yom Kippur, or Simchat Torah. This year was Erev Shabbos. It makes it so exciting when we get to that holiday in the year for me to sit at my Pesach Seder and remember singing the songs from West Side Story, or for me to have Purim and get to put back on my Haman costume. It brings a whole new excitement that transcends beyond the stage into our lives.
Our program really is unique. No one else is doing what we're doing. And the highest compliment that we've received is now other schools are wanting to perform our plays, the plays that originated and debuted first here at Torah Day School.
I have personally gained so much from working with Racheli over the years. I've learned to express admiration and appreciation, both because it's the right thing to do and because it's effective. I've learned to pay attention to detail. I've learned that everyone has talents and abilities, and we can find ways to use those talents for good.
It's our job to develop our children's talents. Whether a child is best at singing on stage or playing basketball, or if they're the best child playing hopscotch or tiddlywinks, this gives them the confidence that they need in life.
I really want to just thank Racheli for all the time, energy, effort. She really built me up. She gave me confidence. Being on stage was something I never realized I loved so much until she introduced it to me. And I really found an outlet for me to express myself, and I really have her to thank for that.
One of the things I love about Mrs. Hiller is that she makes learning so fun. In her class, she has so many examples to teach us all the different things that we're learning.
I love Rabbi Hiller because he is an amazing rabbi.
Rabbi Hiller is a good storyteller.
She's very inviting when she teaches us. She makes everything interesting and fun.
My favorite part about Rabbi Hiller's class are the star parties. If you behave well, we get a half a star, and 2 halves equal a star, and when we get 15 stars, it's 1 star party.
She inspires me every day. Her lessons that she teaches are very interactive, and I can learn so many things from her.
I love having Isaiah as a rabbi. He's so nice, and I get to see him every day, and sometimes I get to see my Bobby.
I decided to be a teacher, I think, early on in my high school years because I spent a lot of time with kids in summer camp, in youth groups, babysitting, and I really enjoyed working with them.
As a young teenager, I kind of always felt that, I had a mission in life to help transmit our tradition to the next generation. And as a teenager, I was involved in a lot of youth groups in the shul, involved in giving bar mitzvah lessons, and continued on with that through yeshiva. We helped start the Pirchei in Hillcrest in Queens, and it was just a natural outgrowth of all that work, which I enjoyed, working with children and impacting them. That as I became a young adult and an adult, I saw that this is really what I wanted to do with my life.
Someone who really influenced my teaching was Rabbi Kalman Rosenbaum, who was the principal when we first came to Torah Day School. When he started the day and he said, Ivdu es Hashem b'simcha, serve Hashem with joy, he really instilled in us that when we're learning with our students, when we're teaching our students, there should be joy. School should be joyful. It should be something positive for these kids, and they should be happy when they're in class.
And until this very day, I find myself often facing a challenging situation of thinking, well, what would Rabbi Rosenbaum do in this situation? And that really guides me. I think we try to create an environment where Judaism is not an auxiliary part of their life. It's not that, this is who I am, and I'm also a doctor, I'm also this, I'm also that, I'm also Jewish, I'm also an observant Jew. It's rather that we try to instill into their very being and their very essence that they are Jews and they live and breathe and think that way, and think, I am a Torah observant person, and therefore every facet and every aspect of my life is informed by what the Torah has to say and what Hashem would want me to be doing.
It impacts everyday life, whether you're a lawyer, a doctor, whatever it is. Torah is in a person's life completely.
And in order for them to come away with that feeling, obviously we're looking to inspire them and looking to connect to them in special ways. I know, my wife will have all these type of, the skits or other types of activities for them, where they dress up as the characters that they're learning in the Navi, or different types of activities that make it fun, make it alive, make it vibrant, in order that it should really go into them and become, part of their essence.
So we're doing a chesed project by performing a Purim skit for an elder home, and we really hope they enjoy it.
My parents tremendously believe in what they're doing, and everything that they do is guided by that belief. The belief that the Torah needs to be transmitted to the next generation. The belief that children are our most precious commodity, and the belief that Torah touches whoever is exposed to it. When you believe that something is so important, every single detail matters. There's such a difference between something that one does in just a, callous fashion versus someone who injects their heart and soul and manages and thinks about every single detail. And I think that the boys walk away with this understanding that every single detail of Yiddishkeit is important, because if we love Hashem and we love our Creator, then we want to get every detail right.
Rabbi Hiller has a mastery of the Hebrew language. He has an appreciation for each letter, each trope, each vowel sound. When he conveys that appreciation, it infuses in our children a love of this godly language.
He's an expert who knows how to take his expertise in Torah study and bring it down to the level of a first grader, a second grader, a seventh grader, an eighth grader. He really is extremely pliable in how he teaches Torah to kids.
I really enjoyed having my father as a teacher because he knew how to teach me, and because of that I learned lots and lots of things. I really enjoyed having my father teaching me the laning.
My favorite part of teaching is having my students jumping out of their seats with an excitement of what we're learning, engaging them so that they want to learn. I love it when I'm finished with class and a student says to me, "Wait a minute, I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight. What happened? What's going to happen?" And I say, you'll have to wait till tomorrow. Or when a student, we study Be'er Tefillah, which is explanation of prayer, and someone says, Mrs. Hiller, I really thought about that bracha today when I was saying it. And that's my favorite part of teaching, when I open their minds and they use it. They use it and they want to learn.
Mrs. Hiller started teaching me in the 6th grade. She taught me Navi and Parsha, and it was an instant special connection that has only grown over 2 decades. And I only hope that I could continue for the rest of my life to have her as a mentor and a Rebbitzin, and involved in my life, in my children's life.
From my students, I've learned that everybody's an individual and people do things differently, and there isn't necessarily one right way of learning, and therefore it is my responsibility ultimately to accommodate each and every one of them, and to realize that really all of us as human beings need to bend over backwards to accommodate every other human being, because everybody's just different, and you could connect with everybody as long as you are figuring out who they are and what their needs are.
And I've been inspired by my students by the way that some of them have really applied themselves and taken challenges and worked hard.
And of course our boys from Atlanta, who are the future of the Jewish people, coming together, learning Torah. There's nothing greater in the world that a person could be doing than that. My wife and I would like to thank Torah Day School for being here for us, professionally for the past 23 years, for being here for our children and grandchildren, for the whole, being here for the entire community, and really making this a very special place. I have told my wife scores and scores of times over the year that we are really blessed and fortunate to have found this community and to have found this school to plant ourselves in and to be part of the life.
So I'd like to congratulate all of the honorees this year, and especially I'd like to say something about Joe and Phyllis Tate, who were among the very first involved with helping to start Torah Day School. So I can still remember soliciting Joe and Phyllis right at the beginning, and they made it as easy as possible for me. I walked in and Joe said, "I'm going to give you as much as I can. There's no point discussing this further." So how should I say this? In addition to delivering my 2 grandchildren, Joe and Phyllis helped deliver our school.
Joe and Phyllis Tate are the kinds of people who really have epitomized what Atlanta is all about. Whatever is needed for the Jewish community, they're right there participating.
When I started in my position as the executive director of Torah Day School, the Tates were by far one of the biggest donors to Torah Day School.
That's where the community need was, and the Rav said that that's where it was, and so we were happy to do something that in some ways came back and helped us with our children. Right?
Yes, to make our children grow in the direction we wanted to, especially seeing as I didn't have the education when I was coming up, so it was very important that they get it from somewhere.
My parents wanted to be involved with Torah Day School because as they were becoming more aware and more Torah observant, they wanted a Torah environment for their children, and they wanted it to be warm and loving and stable, and they saw the need to create something. Torah Day School was able to give my sister and brother who went here a solid foundation.
When it was time for an Eruv to be constructed so that families who actually were benefiting from Torah Day School could actually transport their children on Shabbos, Dr. Joe Tate took responsibility to make that thing happen.
When I talk to people now, people that came, they said, we would never come to this community without an Eruv. And I suspect it's the same thing. There were people that would never come to this community without a Torah Day School.
It's still his. You think of Eruv in Atlanta, you think of Joe.
So my parents are natural givers, I think, and they give so much that I spent a huge chunk of my life really being unaware of it.
It's a particular skill to be able to run a home like Phyllis runs, because anybody and everybody can be in that house, sometimes at the same time. And every kind of personality feels comfortable there. And it could be Torah scholars, or it could be people who have no background at all, but everybody feels comfortable there.
It's such a natural phenomenon within the house that if somebody doesn't have a place to live, then they live at their house. If somebody doesn't have something, then they give it to them.
And I think it was a very important part of my life to be involved with all of the kids, so the house was always open to any kids who needed a place. We enjoy having people around.
My relationship with the Tates began through their children.
I met Nava Senior in Israel. I interviewed her for a position in my school. She asked me if I knew anyone in Atlanta, Georgia she might be able to stay with over the summer. So without asking my parents, of course, because you don't need to, I said, sure, stay with my parents.
They helped me to find a job, drove me to and from work, provided me with all the meals and lodging, and I had a wonderful summer being treated as one of their own. And Mrs. Tate was incredibly warm and helpful in every way, and that was my introduction to Atlanta.
Phyllis has got a lot of wisdom. She couches it in her dry wit, but she's somebody who rolls with the punches and is always there for other people, no matter who they are.
Once a week I pick up my grandson Matan. He wants to have time with his Bubby.
Bubby picks me up once a week.
He needs private time with her, he said.
Sometimes go to the library.
So he has to have at least one day a week that's Matan time.
And everybody knows Dr. Tate in his capacity as a OBGYN, but it goes way beyond that. He also takes care of children that he delivered. So our daughter was one of his the babies that he delivered, and she has now 3 children of her own. And when she had some complications with one of her pregnancies, she called up Dr. Tate, and Joe did. He helped her out, gave her advice, and Leah said, well, Dr. Tate, I can't call you anytime. He says, Leah, let me tell you something. I'm really your doctor. The guy in Baltimore is just filling in for me.
I think the Tates are miracle workers, and they help out everyone in the community. They have so many people they call their children, and without the Tates, I don't know where Atlanta would be.
A few years ago, I tried to work out, how many babies I delivered in my private practice career. So I've probably done somewhere between, 7,000 and 9,000 babies. In the community, I don't know the exact number, but it's somewhere between 600-700 children. And when I say children, I mean one of the children has 3 children of her own that I've delivered.
The Tates have been at the forefront of everything important in the progress of this community. Whatever is needed, they're there with their excitement, with their dedication, with their sense of humor and their charm. And they're very much appreciated.